So ndo hiyo screen nimeshare. Uh, copy your user. Uh, so okay, hey guys, for those who are new, I'm Crypto Georgie. The areas from George. My real name is George Miner, but I go by the alias Crypto Georgie, and today I'll be showing you how I approach testing for Idor vulnerabilities. And let's get started. The DB have clicked. Okay, so here I have a vulnerable application. It's an Express web app, but I suck at building UIs, so we'll have to work with what we have. So here I have a Swagger endpoint with a few things. So for those who were in my previous stream, this is the same vulnerable web app that I showed you how I was able to achieve critical vulnerability from an account takeover, and I got paid 4 digits bounty on that one. And yeah, so in today's session, I will show you how I approach web apps and how I'm able to see or to search for bugs, and in return, if I will also show you the code, the vulnerable code, because I realized during my hunting days, uh, the I realized that coding is a little bit coding and hacking. When you pair both of them, they can be a very good opportunity when you are trying to hack an application and still you know coding. You can be able to reference in your mind and see maybe this is how the function works, or this is how maybe they are taking the user ID and updating the DB without checking the user ID, maybe the email they are sending. When you spend some time building applications or playing with code that acts as a web application, you can be able to mind map a web app that you are hacking, and with that you can be able to find high and critical vulnerabilities. And with that, mostly most okay, as far as I know, most of my critical vulnerabilities are not I haven't been duped. I haven't duped, so that reduces your chance of getting a dupe. And so let's get started. So this is a simple application, and in this application, we have some endpoints, and the most interesting feature for us, we want to test for idle. So that means we need to have authentication, and so that means we have to create an account and log in. So and let's let's move to that. So I was playing with a few requests here. So now we are in VAP. So this is the register endpoint. As you can see, we have an email, a password, and we send a registration. Uh, this is the login endpoint. So let's send that one. And as you can see, we have created a user. Our user ID is this one. We are the role of a user, and okay, this majorly doesn't matter. So let's try to log in with those new credentials, and we need this WWTs because we need to test the authenticated part of the Swagger endpoint. When you are working with Swagger, anything that has a padlock, this padlock thing, Those are authenticated endpoints that require a token or some form of authorization. But if it doesn't, most likely it means that the request can go through without any authentication or authorization. So since we want to test for the authenticated part, we need to let's first log out from the previous session and let's authorize with our new token. And now we have this get profile me. So what that what that does, it's this one. What this one does is it just fetches the current user. So whenever I approach an endpoint that fetches the current user, I ask myself, maybe is this a major big web application that is being used like even internally? If it's being used internally, the admin, since we have this role of user, it means we have another role of admin. And as an admin, I don't think they would use an endpoint called get profile me because that would return their information. So I ask myself, what kind of request would that be? So and the first thing that would come to mind, if maybe here is user me, you guess an ID would come here. As you can see, this is profile me. So you can map the application and say if the admin wants to view other users' information, the thing they would do is they would send a get profile with the user ID, the user they want to view, and then they would get the information of that user. And to test your hypothesis, you copy your current ID and you paste that one. And as you can see, we still get the same thing. We still get the same thing. So so we have verified that indeed they are using the ID. They are using the ID somewhere. So the next question you ask yourself is, if they are using the ID, do they have the proper authorization of the, yeah, do they have proper checks to ensure that uh, no other no other user can view other users' information? And for that, most applications implement some rule that says if a user fetches uh, this profile, it should return their profile. But if the user uses the user ID, it should return a for three forbidden because only admins should be able to do that. And so you ask yourself, where can if this was an incremental ID like 1, 2, or 3 million, 3 million and one, you would change it by one or -1, and that's how you would achieve an account check of you would achieve an idol. This would be an idol with a P2, P3 because it's only giving you read access, and I will show you how with such a vulnerability mostly you can achieve right access and which would raise your bug to a critical. So as you can see, we have been able to identify that we are able to see other users data. So the next thing you do is you find an endpoint that will link the other user's ID. For this application, I had written an endpoint that links all users' ID. For most applications, they don't. You have to find a way. So as you can see, we are linking other users' ID, and we can copy the first ID, and we can test that if our idol is working. And as you can see, we have been returned information that is not ours. As you can see, As you can see, we have the super admin. The email is different, and we have a role of admin. So in most applications, if it was integer based, you would number one would be admin, and maybe some also create as the zero one. You can find that the zero is the admin. Uh, so as you can see, we were able to achieve an idol just from a single request that didn't seem vulnerable to idol. Because if a normal people, okay, let me reset my regime. I should definitely increase those. Uh, as I was saying, if a normal user would find a request that says me, or okay, an inexperienced hunter who hasn't been hacking for a while, they would find this me endpoint, and they wouldn't know what to do. And sometimes the ID is supplementary. However, sometimes you can also find when you do a when you do a get request, it returns 404 or something else. However, you can check other method. Maybe you send a post. As you can see, I haven't implemented post, so I cannot post to this. Maybe you send a put. Maybe they are updating using a put. Maybe a patch. You test all methods that's possible on the endpoint. Maybe you will find that you can find that maybe it will say uh, unable to unable to find. Maybe you can send a patch put or post request, and it will say body is required, and maybe give you a stack trace. That's how I was able to find that's how my bug worked. It gave me some nice stack traces, and I was able to infer from those errors or what I needed to do so that I could have a successful request. For the next request, this is the one that I'm using to show you guys how you can escalate things. For this one, we have an endpoint that takes a patch request, profile, and the ID, and then we have a change password. And there's no check for current password, so it's just new password. And as you can see, for this, we have, where was that request about? Where is get me? Uh, we can have maybe you are testing an application and you find that when you change your password, they send a request like this. And let's see. As you can see, we get a password changed successfully, and we just provided new password and our token, our JWT token. And as you can see, the token, uh, let me log in. Uh, let's see. Oh, yeah, I changed to one to hello. Was it hello 1 2 3? Uh, was it what it was hello 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Okay, here. So as you can see, we have a token, and the token has a few parts. It has the headers for verifying, and it also has the payload part, which contains the metadata of the current user. We have our email and the user ID. And we also have the signature part, and we have the issue date and expiry at. And we also, okay, those are the parts of the token. As you can see, this is our ID. So a proper created applications should be able to verify that ID before changing the password. However, since we have this since we have these IDs, we can test if our idol gives us right access to other accounts, and as you can see, it gives us right access to other accounts. And as you can remember from our previous idol, as you can see from our previous idol, as you can see, we have the email and now the password that we have set, and we can test if we have an account takeover bug. So let's see. We were able to, yes, the application told us we are able to change the password successfully, but we need to verify so that we can see if we have an account takeover. And as you can see, we have an account takeover, and as we have the role, we have the token for a different user. Yeah, so it's something like that. That's how I test applications for Idor. Uh-huh. So basically that's how I work. Mostly that's how I test for Idors. And so basically that knowledge you can transition it into other places. Maybe you have an email change instead of a password. Instead of a password change, maybe it's an email change. Maybe it's something, basically anything. That knowledge you can transition it into something else. Um, yeah, so basically, uh, that's that's my presentation for today. If you have any questions, you can ask. If not, uh,
Nice presentation. I think there are some questions on the chat box. You can have a look at them.
what if the application is using DTOs to? Okay, DTOs. I have no idea what DTOs are. I haven't read about that. Martin, can you clarify about that? I have no idea. And also, the users or endpoint is not whitelisted and can only be accessed by admins. Uh, in my field, there is a point I always say that you're basically screwed if there's no other way to reliably read this, and it's only admins that can have access to that. The best way to have access to that is to make yourself an admin. Uh, but can you explain that DTO part?
Okay, so a DTO is a data transfer object. Like in this case,
Yeah.
ulikuwa unasema that you can see the user details,
Mhm.
like the response you got, like kuna user role, kuna the maybe the ID.
Mhm.
So a data transfer object
Mhm.
haifai kurudisha all those parameters.
Mhm.
In this case,
Mhm.
maybe if the developer is in quotes intelligent,
Mhm.
angerudisha only the relevant details to that specific request.
Mhm.
Like kama unataka kudisplay the username huko kwa dashboard,
Mhm.
then return just the name. Like a DTO is a
Okay.
data transfer
Haya.
object, like
Scatter,
ina
but
pass that
okay,
specific.
scatter, but do you know why most developers, okay, most developers that I have worked for don't do that? As you have
Mhm.
said, if I need to view the username, I just return the username. Si ndio umesema?
Yep.
Now imagine you have a profile section that's supposed to return several data. Uh, that means you will have to make several requests, and most developers like to implement the uh, caching of browsers. You fetch one request once, and then you store in local storage, and then when you need to render the user details, you only render them from local storage. But I get your point. I know I have worked with an application that kind of returns only relevant applications, and basically that just brings me back to my point. You are basically screwed if you're working with somebody who is doing that. I don't think there is a lot of hope on that application. And Mike anauliza if I find the endpoint API me should I try? Hey Mike, acha ujinga. Ati should I try API you? Hiyo sijawahi sikia. I swear hiyo sijawahi sikia. Nani ashaisikia API you? Ati API you. Mike, hebu tu explain and API you. Idors don't work like that. API you. How? What context is you representing? Mi sielewi. Unless mi najua ndo zinawakingi tu na ID. API you unless you mean you replace that with an ID. Mimi I have no idea or sina idea. Maybe iko mtu ashaipata na application kama hiyo. Iko msee mwingine ako na swali before I sign off.
Any question or addition? You can unmute your microphones.
Kama mtu ako na story above alifind which is cool and anataka kushare. We still have 22 minutes and meeting ikuwe officially off.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Just a quick question. When we're hunting for bugs, at what point do you decide that this is a dead end and I shouldn't dig this part anymore?
It depends. It depends with the particular application and how their readerboard looks like. If the readerboard they have several hundreds of solved or reported bugs, and I'm trying for a feature for like 3, 4, 5 times and I'm not getting anything. I say maybe hiyo ishapitwa nayo. If basically mimi sikaangi kwa feature sana juu sioni the amount of times you can try a single feature. Uh, sidhani more than 5 you can try a single feature na ikifail still ukuwe na unless useme ifail leo then urudi after like 2 weeks or maybe 2 days. Web development is constantly evolving. Kama mwingine ako na swali. Kama hamuna swali mnaweza niruhusu ni sign off.
Okay, thanks Crypto Georgie
Eh,
for the amazing for the great session.
welcome.
Tumesoma mingi. We have learned a lot from the APIs, how to deal with the APIs, running around with the APIs. You guys can remember the KuCoin. KuCoin, that's a blockchain company. The vulnerability that was found on the API, whereby the API was unauthenticated. You could just call the API and get private data. That's PIA data. So APIs are quite interesting. The Idors are critical vulnerabilities. Ama zinakuanga P2s, P1s in bug bounty. And they pay a lot. They pay a lot actually. And still they're the easiest bugs. Among the easiest bugs you can find as a beginner in bug bounty. And you will get paid good for the same. Anyway, thanks. Tumesoma mingi. Maybe anyone with an addition or question as our speaker for today signs off. Meanwhile, the meeting was recorded. It will be available on the YouTube channel.
Oh,
Uh,
kuna wasee wana
I think we have a new visit. I mean, the new visitors or join late, and they're requesting that Crypto Judge, you can take them through a summary, maybe in a minute or 2 minutes, what the meeting was all about.
sawa sawa. Okay, so basically the meeting was about finding an idol in Stina, punguza mic.
Oh,
So basically the meeting was about finding how I search for idols and how I escalate them from maybe a P3 or maybe from a medium to a critical. So the first thing we did was register a user account, and then we tried to we logged in to get a JWT token, and then we were able to use the token to infer the endpoint that was supposed to fetch our data, and then from there we were able to infer that the same endpoint can be inferred via the ID. We were able to since we know we have a few roles in the application, we were able to ask ourselves how would an admin query the endpoint, and with that we were able to infer that we can have an idol here, and then after finding that idol, we were able to link the email and some other information, so that's a medium high bug, and then we were able to craft patch request to change password of any user, including the admin. And with that, we were able to create a new password for the admin, and we were able to log in as the admin. So creating, we were able to uh, eventually achieve an account takeover, which is rated critical of 9.1 to 9.4, or even a 9.8 depending on the program. So basically that's it, and the meeting will also be available in YouTube. If you can check the first few minutes, that's why I went through the whole thing step by step. So Hannah, you can check. We will share the link as soon as the video is up. We'll share the link on the group. If you are in the group, you can I will share the link. So if you have any question, you can find me. You can hit me up in the group, or you can also ask me individually if you have a problem. I'm always happy to help. And with that, I gotta sign off. Next time we'll look at the code, how it's how it's vulnerable. As you can see, we're checking if you have the token. We have verified the token, then we take the user ID and the new password, and then we query the DB for the user. We for the user which we are using the user ID, and then we update the user with the user. We update the user ID's user with the new password. And for the other one, as you can see, we are just taking the user ID and we check the DB for we check the DB for the user ID and then we return the object, the user object. And with that, I think I'm gonna have to sign off. Uh, see you.
Okay. We look forward for having you for the next session. I think that's next week Thursday. I hope you'll be available so
Yeah.
that you can complete what you have started. So that will be part 2 for your session. Thanks and pleasure. We are very grateful for your session.
Okay.
Uh, uh, have a good evening, guys. You can log out at your own pleasure.